I don't know if doctors are recommending this or somebody's telling you this. No more cherries, is that right, Jake?
Yeah, the FDA is changing its guidelines, and they are saying now that what they used to certain companies used to be able to use the term healthy on their packaging and in marketing materials. One of those companies, not one of those companies, but one of those products would be something like cherries, which are grown all over, and they could say, hey, these cherries are, especially like dried fruits, these cherries are healthy for you. They're actually good for you because they have a lot of things like antioxidants, all these different things that actually, can give you a healthier life. Cranberries is another one. But now the FDA is saying, well, because there's added sugar in it, we're actually not going to let you put the term healthy on there anymore. And so all these manufacturers of all these food manufacturers, like big companies, are saying, wait a minute, this is going to be a huge knock to our product. People aren't going to buy it anymore if they don't think it's healthy. And the FDA is saying, well, you're basically just selling them candy. And so that's the change. They're not going to be able to say healthy on these cherries anymore.
Oh, but people are still going to keep eating cherries.
Well, if they can, it's their choice. I mean, the FDA is not going to restrict you from eating cherries. I don't think they have a way of doing that. They're certainly not encouraging you to eat them by not letting you put healthy on here anymore.
Yeah, so they only have our best intentions in mind, right? The FDA?
I mean, I would assume that they would, which is why they're giving us all these things, all this info. Help us make good choices. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the food pyramid, right?
Yeah.
The food pyramid?
I do remember.
Cue the music, Andrew. Cue it, please. 1972, Russia has all sorts of weather problems, and they run out of grain that people are going to starve. So they come to the United States. Listen, we don't like you, but we need your grain. U.S. is like, okay, we'll sell you grain. So the grain farmers in the United States start to produce even more grain, and we start selling it to Russia. It's going pretty well for a while, and then all of a sudden we realize they don't need our grain anymore, but we've been selling them grain, making grain, and the Nixon administration and the guy in charge of agriculture, a guy named Butts, says, hey, listen, little farmers, you guys need to, sell out to big farms. So AgriFarm steps up. Big business comes in there. They're now being subsidized by the U.S. government to produce grain. They got so much grain. They said, what are we going to do with all this grain? Well, I know. They hire this ridiculous scientist who comes up with the food pyramid. And he says we need to eat 5 to 7 helpings of grains every single day. The food pyramid comes out in 1980. And if you look, when the food pyramid comes out in 1980, and you start to notice the U.S. obesity level begins to rise dramatically. And it goes from 1980 all the way up to where we are now, where almost 70% of Americans are overweight. One of the reasons is because they were told to eat 5 to 7 helpings of grains a day. And when the meat and chicken people came along, another ridiculous scientist paid for by us through the FDA said, oh, no, meat's really dangerous. It causes all sorts of heart problems. Don't eat meat. Very small part of the pyramid. What are we going to do with all the extra grain? Well, let's put it into the schools. So we have all this grain in the schools purchased by the government. They're all based on a lie because we had too much grain produced by Big Agra, and that's why we were told to eat it. That's why the government told you to eat it. That was the pyramid, which was based on a lie, and I hope you enjoy the fact that you're 35 pounds overweight.
So that's why everyone's fat.
Yeah, that's a big reason for it. I mean, you go through schools because the federal government feeds, because it's a government school, they feed these kids all this grain. I mean, buns and rolls and French fries and potato, all this crap.
Very grainy.
But if you look at what you should be eating, what they should be eating, it's the pyramid. Take it and flip it around the other way. It should be going the other way. Grains and wheat and all that, grains and pasta
should be very tiny.
And all that stuff.
Yeah,
very small.
But right
amount.
now it's for years. It was the base. It was like where everything else was built on. It was grains.
And why? Because the government was paying Big Farm Agra to grow wheat and soy, and then all of the oils that they had left over, all those really unhealthy oils, plus all the corn as well, and all the corn syrup, because the government was paying them. They were producing it the way they produced it. What are we going to do with it? I know. We'll sell it to the government schools. So that's it. So when they tell you, oh, don't eat cherries, who knows why they're telling you that? You don't trust them as far as you can throw them. Yes.
I'm looking at school lunches from other countries around the world. and
Yeah.
Oh, they're very
very
different.
few of them have grain, and if it is, it's just a tiny little slice of bread.
Yeah,
you can
like-
get on an
right.
airplane
Like
or
my
something.
kids get really excited for school lunch. They'll be like, "Hey, it's mac and cheese and rolls today." You're just like, "Wait a minute, that's that's all grain, just all grain and cheese and sugar." But you know,
Right.
it's tasty. They love it. Here's
But
another.
that's okay.
Here's
That's
another.
all right. As long as we're giving the money to the big corporations that go and get these guys elected.
That's
all
horrible.
that
Yeah, it's horrible.
matters.
It's horrible. But listen to this. This is kind of interesting. Another, not a side effect, but just I found this kind of funny. So Honey Nut Cheerios, which has a lot of added sugar, a lot of things in it, because it doesn't have a high fat level. Like they also look at fat levels. At the FDA determines what can be labeled as healthy because of fat levels. So Honey Nut Cheerios can have heart healthy. They have that heart healthy stamp. Probably every time you see a Honey Nut Cheerios commercial with that little, friendly looking bee, they're always going to highlight the heart healthy thing on the box.
It's not.
Well, here's the thing. Salmon, like organically fresh salmon, they're not allowed to put heart healthy because they have higher levels of fats. Now, you could probably make a pretty good argument that if somebody ate nothing but Cheerios for the rest of their life and nothing but salmon, a person eating salmon's probably going to be a bit healthier. I could be wrong about that, but that's just a guess. But salmon is not allowed to put healthy because they have these natural fats and all these oils that people always talk about.
Those are good for you.
Good fish oils. But the FDA doesn't recognize those as good, so they're not allowed to put that on the box in the marketing.
That's crazy.
Right.
It is crazy. And one more side thing about the cherries, just a side note, because I did mention old fashions a second ago. Have you guys ever had filthy cherries? Have you ever had those?
No, but you said they look fantastic.
This is not a plug. I don't advertise for them. I'm just telling you, if you make old fashions often, as I do, they're really, really good. I highly recommend those. I hope that this business isn't hurt by this. I think it's a semi-local business, but really good cherries. Do you drink old fashions, John?
No, but I do enjoy watching women try to tie the cherry stem with their tongue.
Okay. I don't believe these come with stems, but they're still fun to eat. And I don't know, you could probably come up with something else that's fun with them. But I would highly recommend, so check them out.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Well, mine's a little
I think if you
blown on
eat-
the food pyramid thing. That's
I think
crazy.
if you eat 2 pounds of cherries and drink a gallon of milk, you die instantly. I think that's the story.
Really?
I forget somebody famous did that.
I'm not going to try it.
Yeah, don't. Instantly. As you eat that last cherry, you hit the floor. You're dead before you know it.